For today's automotive adventure, we're going to be changing oil on 2 cars. Now, I know some of you are thinking that's not much of an adventure, but 3 things I'd say to that. One is that my content's intended for do-it-yourselfers, and if you're a starting out do-it-yourselfer, an oil change is one of the most accessible things you can do, but even for some people it may be intimidating. Secondly, there are a lot of right and wrong ways to do an oil change, so I'll be showing you a lot of how-tos and pro tips today. And thirdly, I need content. So if I'm in my driveway working on a car, my camera's rolling. So there you go, let's get into it. Some basic things you need to do an oil change. Well, you need a wrench to take out the drain plug. You may want a filter wrench for taking off the filter. I don't use that, I'll tell you about that though later. You need a drain pan. You need some oil filter, and some rags and some towels. That's really all you need to do the oil change. The nature of my videos really isn't focused on how-to, but this will be the most how-to-ish type of video I do, so let's get into it. First thing you always want to do is pop the hood first before you drain any oil. If you go draining oil and then you find out you can't pop the hood because the cable's broken or something, then you're in a difficult situation. It's always good to check the oil before you drain it. Why? Well, it's good to know your personal vehicle. Between oil changes, how much does it actually use or drip or burn or consume or whatever. Mine's down a quart, so that's about normal. Now, my driveway is on an angle. You typically don't want to check fluids like oil on an angle, so just pretend my driveway's not on an angle and we're on flat ground. I usually remove the cap, because as you're draining fluid's coming out, you want air to be able to come in to take its place. The first thing I do is remove the filter, so let's go down and do that. The filter on this vehicle is most accessible from underneath. So I'll lay down here on the ground. See if I can give you a view of it up there. It's white up there. Now, when I put filters on, I only put them on hand tight, about 96% of my strength, so not quite as totally tight as I can make them. That way I can get them off with my hand. If you want to use a wrench, it's up to you. But I have found this to be my preferred way. I give it a good spin and let the oil come down and drip. This vehicle, gratefully, has a kind of a drip path for the oil to fall. When you get the filter all the way off, I try to keep it tipped upwards so I drip as little amount of oil as possible. You can see the filter mounting up there. I always reach up and make sure the little stud, a little threaded stud or pipe or whatever you call it, is tight, because sometimes those get loose. And I like to wipe off that mounting surface, wipe off the oil path. A couple things about filters. You always want to make sure that the rubber O-ring came off with it. You don't want to leave it on there. It's called double sealing. You'll blow that out. On the filter, when I buy the filters at the store, I always open it up, make sure there's no dents or anything like that. This one looks fine. I actually ordered these on, I buy them as a 12-pack from Rock Auto, because 2 of my cars take the same filter. And I want to just buy them in bulk, it's cheaper. Get a little fresh oil on the ring. That way, when you go to take it back off, it'll come off easy. Otherwise, if you don't do that, it's what's called a dry seal. You want to make sure you cap your oil back up so you don't kick it over accidentally when you're hanging out under the vehicle. I'm back under the vehicle, and as I'm installing the oil filter, try not to bump the nice oiled seal on anything dirty, contaminate your seal. As I mentioned, I put this on, I don't know, 90% of my strength. Just like pretty good and snug, but I don't put a wrench on it. Never had a problem with that. All right, back under the vehicle. I'm approaching the vehicle from the front. I got the camera kind of positioned in the side. I like how here's the oil drain plug. I like how they have this nice shield here to protect oil from getting all over this cross member. If I can't fit a ratchet in here very well, I bought this gear wrench because I found it easier to loosen this plug. This plug on this Sport Track here, the plug, it doesn't come finger loose, and I gotta use a wrench on it forever. And the ratchet doesn't fit in there well, so I happened to buy this gear wrench. I see some guys in videos wear nitrile gloves when they're changing oil to keep it off their fingers. That's probably a good idea. I worked at 10-minute oil change for 3 years, and I got so much oil on me. If I don't have cuticle cancer by now, I don't think I'm going to get it. So try not to let this plug drip fall into the pan if you can, because then you're going to have to fish it out. But if you do, no big deal. You can let that drain for a while. While you're letting it drain is a good time to check other things. Check your brake fluid, power steering fluid. You can check your washer solvent, your coolant level. My coolant actually looks like it's down a little bit. It's not a bad idea to even check the air cleaner at this time. If you're not under your hood a lot, it's good to check things out, because I mean, when else are you going to check things out? When else are you going to check your air cleaner? Mine actually doesn't look great. I think I have one over here. Just right here. Now, I guess I don't have one. So make sure I put that on the list, okay? Make sure I get one of those. But in the air box, there's leaves. There's all kinds of junk in here. There's an acorn. I don't know if there's an animal getting in here or what. But I need to put that on the list. Also, in general, it's good to become familiar with and get to know what's going on under your own hood. That way you can recognize when something is out of order. You could let this drip until there's nothing left to drip. I mean, it's pretty good there, so I'm just going to stick the plug back in there. You want to get it snug. You don't want to put like all your weight into it or anything. It doesn't need to be, you're not like torquing it to 50 foot-pounds or anything. You just don't want it coming out going down the road. I personally don't like dripping oil all over my driveway, so, you know, as you go along, wipe it up. The other tool I forgot to mention is funnel. You want a funnel. You don't want to be dumping oil all over the place. You want to, this vehicle takes 5W20. They'll often tell you on the cap or in the owner's manual. This takes 6 quarts. That you'd have to look in the owner's manual to see. This jug happened to have just 1 quart left over from a previous oil changes. So we have the new filter, the new oil. Now we have to start it. This is also a good time to check the transmission fluid if the vehicle is at operating temperature. This model does not have a transmission fluid dipstick. You have to crawl underneath. It's a complicated procedure. We're not going to do that today. But you do want to start it still and check for pressure and make sure that your oil filter is sealing. So let's do that. So I just eyeballed the filter, made sure that it wasn't spewing oil, and it wasn't. So that's good. You know how much oil your car takes because you check the owner's manual. It's still good to check it just to make sure. Pretend my car's not on the driveway. It's not quite registering as full yet. But I know it has 6 quarts, so after it drains down, I'll check it. Maybe pull it on the driveway, on the road to where it's level. Lastly, you have to deal with your used oil. I typically just put it back in the container it came in, and then I'll take it to O'Reilly's or AutoZone. I usually go to O'Reilly's because they're closer, and drop it off there for recycling along with my filters. Watch the side, make sure it's not going to flood over, make a mess in your garage. I'll sometimes prop it against something and just let it drain down for a while like that. And that really completes the oil change. Now I told you at the beginning that you were in for a special treat today, not just one oil change, but 2. The Equinox also needs an oil change, so let's swap them out. Now this time you can walk us through the process. Looks like it's registering about a quart low. The Equinox has a special treat for us in that it has a cartridge type oil filter instead of a spin-on. Try to zoom in on it here and show you. You can see the cap down there. I turned the brightness up as high as I could just to give you some visibility. I'm trying to use this socket, 1 1/4 inch socket with a reducer and a swivel, just trying to get some direct connection to it there. It's kind of tough. We're getting it to turn. There we go. I'm going to put my pan underneath. I don't know how much oil is going to drip down there. See, it raised up enough, I can't get the socket off. I actually have to tighten it back down because I can't get my socket off. I really don't know what to expect once I get it out. Does the filter and everything come out or what? You are getting some background noise. The neighbor's having their carpet cleaned. It's not anything weird with the camera or the microphone. It's just local service provider. So I'm not super familiar with these. I haven't done many of these. I've only done one of these actually. So I'll open the new one just to see in terms of seals, and you want to make sure you don't miss an O-ring or have too many O-rings. I see it has a green seal on the end. This does too. Then it has this little seal which probably goes right there. That's what I'm thinking. I'll also say, just like with Ford, I like to use Motorcraft. GM, I do like to use their name brand filters, parts in general. It really is better quality. So might pay a little more, but try to get the name brand stuff. So, all right, let's check this out. I don't think I got any oil dripping down here. Looks like there is some sort of O-ring on here. A tool would make this a lot easier. The way the old one just kind of snapped out, I think it just snaps in. I guess. Wipe that area there. It's the mounting surface of sorts for the O-ring, so yeah, you want to wipe that clean. I turned the brightness way up again to try to give you a good view into there. How tight do you think we should do it? One click of the elbow? Half a click of the elbow? It definitely has a bottoming out point. So I'll just give it a little snugness and then, yeah, definitely don't want to overdo that. Now this filter is definitely nasty. I mean, it looks twisted. The oil actually looks pretty bad. I'm going to put a doubled up towel under it, put it in the box because I don't want it dripping on my floor. Again, I'll take that to O'Reilly's for proper recycling of that. So this vehicle is low to the ground, unlike the Sport Track, so I can't really get the camera under there. You've seen oil drip before, so you don't really need to see that again. So I'm going to crawl under there and drain the oil. While the oil is draining, is a good time again. Check out the fluids. And I got the brake fluid. It looks good. I don't see power steering. It might be electric power steering. The coolant is actually, where is it? The coolant is actually down a little bit. You see below the cold. I don't know if the coolant I have on the shelf is the right one for this. I'll have to check that. I just filled out the washer solvent, and that's the fluids. I probably should check that air filter to see where. All right, I pulled the plug. It's draining. I got it here. Again, you want to check that rubber there. Just check the general quality. Everything looks good. I mentioned before that, you know, some guys like to wear nitrile gloves. I love going back to the office on a Monday morning with some grease under the fingernails, kind of gives you some street cred for being a driveway diagnostician, you know, an automotive adventurer, even a Huntington hillbilly. So nothing wrong with getting a little dirty, but if you do want to protect yourself, by all means, you know, do that. I'm going to now check the owner's manual. I don't know how many quarts this takes, so I'm going to check the owner's manual so I can prepare to fill it back with oil. So I checked the owner's manual. It does take 5 quarts of oil, and that's what I have. There's 5 quarts, 5W30. Funnel, you kind of turn it sideways so you don't make a big mess all over the engine. That old oil was pretty nasty. While that's draining down, I can check the air filter. So now that it's full of oil, again, I want to start it up. We have oil pressure, and we're not spewing oil everywhere. I look for a transmission dipstick. I don't see one. So again, I can look in the owner's manual to see where that might be. So there you go. 2 oil changes in the can. How adventurous was it? I mean, you tell me. It doesn't rank up there high in adventure, but as a do-it-yourselfer, it's something you can do, and you can get to know your car. You can feel good about taking care of things. Really, if you're not really doing much of your own auto maintenance, this is something you can do with a few tools, some know-how. Doing a clean job is really important. You don't want to get oil all over your driveway. Both of these cars do track the oil life in the message centers. If that's the case, you got to go ahead and reset that to 0 or to 100%, whatever it is. So thanks for joining me on this automotive adventure. I'll see you next time.